Hello everyone, welcome to the Captain Swan podcast number 110. I'm Serena, Savior out on Tumblr, and these are the people with me today.
Hi, I'm Lisa, and I'm you. You brought me home.
Hi, I'm Michelle, and I'm to the end of the world or time.
Hi, I'm Ro, and I'm really, really jealous.
Me too. So you can see or hear, we are a tiny group today, but with two very important guests, Lisa and Michelle, who met Colin and are gonna tell us all about it. Because today we are doing a special convention podcast where we are gonna hear some first some memories from meeting Colin. So the convention was in Chicago, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, correct.
So tell us. I don't know if I should ask you to just tell us something about it. Yeah, just start talking. Tell us what you remember from the weekend. Was too big a question.
I need Gil McKinney and Colin Donahue to sing together. This is a thing that I need.
Yes, most definitely. And I just want to say, Michelle was not lying. I don't do this man justice at all. Oh my God, and oh my God, seeing this man in person it's like flying throughout the room. I mean, I can't. There really are no words to describe seeing him in person, and he is the real deal. I mean, all talent and good looks aside, the guy is the sweetest, kindest, like most personable. He's shy because he's not used to all the attention. It's obvious that he's a bit of an introvert, but he's really good to his fans, and he's really sweet. He's intelligent. He's articulate. Steele, he's just a really good
a troll.
guy, and he sets the bar so high for ordinary men. Like, there's no man on this planet that could meet that bar. Helen is your.
Well, my big takeaway.
And so is Gil's wife, because goddamn.
Okay, so I'm gonna start asking questions as a person who hasn't really followed the
Can I just get out my big news from the weekend?
Yes.
Colin remembers me.
Oh my God! Seriously, from when you met?
When I met him in Nashville. When I woke up on Saturday morning before the big meet and greet, my Facebook told me that it had been exactly 3 years since I met him the first time, because it was, one of those memory things, and it had the picture of us.
Yeah.
And I was like, holy crap. So when I brought him the picture to sign, and I told him that Facebook had informed me of this, he was like, is that really 3 years ago? Because I remember this.
So that's amazing. I can't even remember people I met yesterday. That's a good memory.
Yeah, so Colin remembers me. Go me.
Yeah, and it shows the face attention.
Huh?
It shows that he's paying attention, she said.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, my big news is that when I went down there for the autograph signing, I had a picture with me that my husband drew of a lightsaber design that he's planning on building for Colin, now that we know he's such a huge Star Wars fan. And I wanted to give him this drawing, but I didn't know how they feel about giving them gifts. So I showed it to him. And at first he had this look on his face like, oh my God, is she trying to give me something? And I was like, no, that you can't. I explained to him that I knew that he was a Star Wars fan, and that my husband had drawn this picture of this saber that we're going to build for him. And all I needed to know from him was what color beam that he wanted, red, blue, green, or purple. And he was like, at first he said blue, because I think he thought that I meant I was going to have Will redraw a better picture with a blue beam for him. I was like, no, 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 no. He's going to build this for you. My husband builds these things, like fully functional sabers, sounds, lights, all of it. His eyes lit up like a kid at a candy store. He was like, are you for real? Seriously? Like, he really builds them? Like, yeah, yeah. That's why I need to know what color beam you want. He goes, oh, green. It has to be green. Because, you know, Irish Jedi has to be green. So that was like awesome to see him. So when I came home, I told Will that he wanted a green beam. So this trip, Will's going to get started. So hopefully in a couple of weeks, it'll be finished.
So the convention was when? A couple of weekends ago?
It was last weekend.
Last weekend.
Okay.
It was Friday, Saturday, and Sunday.
Okay, so 3 days. Was
Right.
Colin there all 3 days or just?
No,
he was there the second day.
Okay, so let's talk. But you were there all 3, or
No,
just
we
Saturday?
were there. We were there Friday and Saturday.
Okay, so what was going on Friday before Colin came?
Gil McKinney.
Well, they had.
He opened up his. Yeah, Gil opened up his Q&A by singing a song that Prince Eric sings from Little Mermaid the musical, and it about killed me.
And it was really freaking awesome.
Yeah, it was really freaking awesome. I tweeted about it. I was like, I finally got to hear Gil McKinney sing in person, and then he liked my tweet.
So he did a panel.
Yes.
And it was just him on Friday, though.
Well, it was him.
The funny thing was that Coleman and who else was there? Can't remember.
I have the schedule. Hold on, I'm looking for it.
You don't have as good a memory as Colin does, then.
There was a lot going on. Oh, yeah, then we had trivia after Gil. There was trivia.
Did you win anything at trivia?
They had 3 rounds, and they chose 30 people each round to come up. And I tried every round, and they kept refusing to pick me. So got his chance.
So we played from our
to go up there.
Was it very difficult? Was the trivia that every fan
Not really, but they did have some questions that were really like ultra specific, like what was this the license plate number on Rumpel's Buick? And I'm like, who the hell looks at Rumpel's license plate? I mean, they had like some really ultra specific, really easy questions to really hard questions.
Okay, so then the next day was when Colin was at the convention, and he did a panel.
Well, the first thing that was on Saturday was photo ops with Colin, bright and early at 9 a.m. We had a bit of a snafu.
So
yeah, we had a bit of a snafu there because the line was really long and it kept moving us from different line to different line. And we were trying to figure out where we were supposed to go. Is that we had the paper tickets and we were about to go down the stairs to go downstairs. And they're like, no, you need an actual hard ticket. So we had to go back to the check-in and figure out which line we had to get into to get our papers switched out.
Which was weird because you didn't need a hard ticket for any other one. Because Jen canceled. We both had photo ops with the Jen and Colin duo, so we had to get vouchers for those. And so I swapped mine to get a photo with Gil and a photo with Karen David, and I used the rest for merchandise. And so I know there were people in both Gil's line and Karen's line who did not have hard tickets, who just had the PDF, and they were good to go. So I don't know why Colin needed the hard ticket, but FYI, if you go to one of these creation cons after this, and you have like a Colin or Alana or somebody like big and important, their photo op, and you print out the PDF, Ask them if you need a hard ticket when you get your badge.
Because by the time we got to the line to switch out our tickets, the line's really long, and I'm like, oh my god, I was afraid they were going to cut it off in order to get Colin.
And I had to assure her they were not going to cut it off. They were going to make
gold
sure
panel on time,
got their picture.
But one of the volunteers came out and said, no, we will make sure everyone gets their photo op before Colin goes to the gold panel, even if they had to push it back a little. So we finally switched that out, went back downstairs, and we're waiting in the long line to get. And it was like, the whole thing was so surreal because every time you would see girls leaving the room where he was at, they were shaking, some were crying, like they're and my heart just started to beat like out of my chest because I didn't know what I was going to do when I first saw him. As you got closer to the doorway, to the inner room, you could see the girls were peeking their heads around the corner going, oh my God, he's right there. So once I got to that door, I kind of peeked around and went, oh my God, he's standing right there. And he looked so just, oh, I don't even have the words. We got that picture. And I wanted to.
You got your picture, and then I got my picture.
Yeah, I said hi, and he's like, hey, and I wanted to ask him if I could do a hug picture, but I couldn't like form words.
Yeah, I couldn't.
My mouth would not form words.
That's what I was gonna go for too, and it happened like so fast. I was just like, ah! I said hi, Colin, and that was all I got out. And I had met him before, and I was still like, blah, blah, blah.
So we did that.
But later on, it got better.
We went back upstairs, and then he came out for his gold panel with Lana.
But we got in line very early.
Yeah.
Like right when we got to the room, we got in line to ask questions.
That's important. You have to line up at least a half an hour before his panel starts because that shit goes all the way to the back of the room.
And also
really
for
fast.
people like Emily's line got really long. I was at Emily's panel. Her lines got really long. So there's one on either side of the room, a microphone. And please, for the love of every baby Jesus, they're going to screen your question before you ask it.
Exactly.
There's going to be a volunteer there who's going to ask what you're going to ask. So please be tasteful. Do not ask weird stuff because they won't let you.
Yeah, each person, when they go up, they'll ask you, they'll tell you where to stand, they'll tell you how to talk into it. They'll say, just speak like you were having a normal one-on-one, whatever. Don't like freak out or anything. Don't scream, try not to cry. And they'll ask you what your question is. And I remember this because the second panel, when it was just his solo panel, I was asking a question about his rings, and she asked me what my question was, and I said it had to do with the costume, and she said, keep it appropriate. And I'm like, oh, no, it's about his rings. And the fact that they have to codify this is sad because people have asked questions that were not appropriate. And it wound up, not at this con. Everybody was fine. There wasn't any Swan Queen questions. There wasn't any, there was one Hook Queen thing, but it was more like in jest. It wasn't really,
Yeah, okay, let's clear
fine.
this up. Let's clear this up. Some girl on the other side of the room from us, while we were still in line at the gold panel, asked them to talk about if there was something on the show from their characters, past, present, or future, that hasn't happened yet. What would they want to see? And both Colin and Lana mentioned that they would like a definitive answer to whatever the hell was going on with Regina and Hook in the Enchanted Forest, despite the fact that, Regina threw herself at him twice and had been rejected twice, but whatever. But they were not talking about Hooked Queen in the future, guys. It did not happen. Please remain calm. It was a joke. Yes, Regina. Yes, Lana talked about Regina possibly getting a new love interest in season 7. She did use the phrase hook up, but she even immediately said it was there. I had to take it, as in I'm literally sitting with the guy who plays Hook. It's the perfect joke. Everybody go with it. That's all it was. It was a joke. Please remain calm.
I know what I'd like to see. Him calling her grandma.
Okay, so did you guys ask questions?
Yes.
And what was the question about the ring, and what was the answer?
Well, let's do our gold panel questions first.
Okay, tell us.
We both asked Colin a question. Poor Lana decided to sit there. Now ask me.
It's good for her to be ignored once in a while.
To be silent for a few minutes. I asked. I went. No, did I go first? No, I went second. It doesn't matter. Anyway, I asked what or how the elder Liam Jones would feel about Killian's turn to piracy. That was my question. And he said that Liam would probably be disappointed, but he would ultimately understand, and that they had a nice moment in the underworld, and that was pretty much it. And I was like, yay.
Yeah, they never really talked about the whole pirate thing or how he had a hook for a hand now.
I know. I was really annoyed about that in the underworld. I'm like, of all the things that we're talking about this other crap.
Maybe Liam gets real world cable or something so he knows what his brother was up to.
Let's hope so.
Okay, so that was one question. Then what were the other?
Lisa, what'd you ask?
Lisa?
Oh wait, she's got her mic muted.
Lisa? Okay, maybe she can't hear us. Michelle, did you ask another question?
I did at Colin's panel later in the day.
Okay, can you guys hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Okay, sorry.
And not anymore.
What the funny thing was, they, what they like to see in her character. Kind of had to sit there for a minute to really think, and she's like, so much has already. There's so much that they've told about her. It's hard for me to think of. I'm like, really? You think? And when it gets to be too hard for the actor to figure out what they want their character to do next, because so much of their story has already been told, that's very telling.
Okay,
surprisingly, though, the surprising thing was that even though Colin was there for 2 panels, there wasn't really anything asked about Captain.
Maybe that's for the best. I don't want to disappoint anybody.
Yeah,
I was surprised at the lack of CS questions, but considering he can't answer them, I think it was probably a good move on everybody's part to just not go there.
I wish they hadn't asked him anything about season 7, because both panels, like at least 4 people asked him about it, and I was like, he can't tell you anything. He doesn't even know himself. That's a wasted question.
Yeah, I don't know if Adam and Hedy actually know yet. Maybe the first few episodes, but
he said that he knew a few. Yet. He said he knew a few small things, and he said, "I know things." He was very funny, like very, very darkly funny. The funniest thing was when doing his solo panel was when someone asked him
let's
if,
go in. Go ahead. I was
going to say let's
go in order of the day, but whatever.
When one of the girls asked him if Hook went up against Jack Sparrow, who would win in the fight, and before she could even finish answering the question, as soon as she said the words Jack Sparrow, he goes, "Don't even." You gonna really ask that question? Of course, me.
Of course.
Oh my gosh. So
he's so funny.
So Lisa, what did you ask at the gold panel? I don't remember.
At the gold panel, I asked answer it the way that I wanted him to, because I don't think he understood what I was asking him. He thought I was asking him what was his headspace to get into between Hook and his father in the flashback when he finds out that his father's still. What I was trying to ask him was, what did he think Hook's headspace was? Like, where, what motivated him to, even though he hated his father for all those years, finally find it in himself to forgive him up until had another son. but it didn't quite come out that way. And he thought I was asking about his own headspace. But he did. I mean, it was interesting for him to say that, that he had always been so angry at his father because his father abandoned them, and that was kind of a driving force for the beginning, for most of his life. It's kind of driven a lot of the decisions he's made. So it wasn't easy for him to get into that headspace. He had to kind of pull from somewhere, I guess, to get to that place.
When you think about it, he might not have even ended up in the Navy if he hadn't been left on a boat.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah.
So the gold panel was really short. It was just a half an hour because Colin needed to do autographs after that.
So these panels are all audience questions. There's not a moderator, or is there?
No. It's just audience questions. The only thing that happens is Lee comes out, like especially for the solo panels, Lee comes out and introduces people, and then he comes and fetches them at the end.
Mm-hmm. So
exactly.
The rest is just the audience questions bouncing back and forth from side to side. So basically, it's you're watching Colin play tennis, going back and forth, swiveling in the chair.
And sometimes he'll hear somebody in the audience saying something, and he'll bounce off of that. The only time it was different was with Gil, because Gil is a much more extroverted person, so he'll just like sit there and just start talking.
Gil just rambled. He told his whole life story.
Because nobody was lined up to ask him any questions at first, so he just was like, okay, blah 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 blah, and he just started going on and on about his life story, being in high school, being a band geek, and his wife and his daughter, and blah 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 blah.
It was awesome, and he tried. And for those of you who don't know, Gil has also been in Supernatural, so he goes to a lot of Supernatural conventions, and they're a lot rowdier than most of my time conventions. So he was like, I really should try to watch my language because there are kids in the audience, but he didn't really succeed that well.
Describe the Supernatural cons as like a 3-day party.
But that's okay, because when I got Gil's autograph on Friday, I told him that I watched both Supernatural and Once Upon a Time, so it was a really big treat. And he remembered that. So when I had my picture with him on Saturday, I got a hug.
See,
hug from Prince Eric.
Yeah, a hug from Prince Eric. I couldn't get a hug from Hook, but I got one from Prince Eric.
The big difference between the panels for the mains and the panels for the guests is that the guests don't have as much of an audience, and it's more relaxed. Whereas the mains, they really have to structure it because there's so many, like the line went literally all the way to the back of the room, and it was packed. It was packed front to back.
Emily's was too. I was at Emily's panel on Saturday.
So they have to structure it so that they can fit everything into that time period. And because it's as soon as we got back from as soon as the gold panel was over and Colin went to do autographs, they started calling row by row. So we kind of sat in for.
Hello.
Michael Coleman was up there doing some stuff, dressed up as like Little Happy Snow or whatever.
Well, that was the Lee, Michael, and Gil panel, the TMI panel, as they called it. And they had quite a few questions for the three of them. The three of them were hilarious, and they sang. Gil sang again. It was like the best thing ever.
The funniest thing was when the chick that was dressed up as Ariel got up on stage. Well, she asked Gil a question. When Gil saw that she was dressed up as her up on stage, and he gave her a hug.
Okay, now I talked to this girl. She was right behind me in the autograph line, and she told me that she just made up a question to ask Lee just so she could get up there so that they could see her costume. So that Michael and Gil could see her costume, and Gil brought her up on stage and took pictures, and we all took pictures of Ariel and Eric. It was fabulous.
The funnier thing was that Michael Coleman is a known like massive Ariel fanboy. So when he saw her, he was just like, "My Ariel, come here."
It was hilarious.
They were like trying to fight over who was going to get Ariel. It was so cute.
So basically, our convention was a little different than I'm assuming it was in Denver, because Lana had to come on Saturday rather than Sunday because she had to go to New York on Sunday. So she rescheduled and came on Saturday. So it was pretty packed. While we were waiting for Colin's autograph, there were a whole bunch of people who were getting a photo with Lana. So they had those two things going on simultaneously while the other panels were going on. But it was pretty. Yeah, we did autographs.
You had slightly more time to talk to him. You might have had maybe a minute to say something to him really quick while he was signing your stuff.
It depended on how much stuff you had. Like, both of us had more than one thing that needed signed. So, like, I had, because Jen canceled Colin's autograph when we originally signed up for the con, you had to buy it separately. But
that's why I had 2 autographs.
They made it with your ticket, for your gold and silver ticket. So I had already bought an autograph, and Lisa had bought 2 autographs. So I wound up with 2, and she wound up with 3. So I took my picture of Colin and I from Nashville when he was here for the dust storm. And then I also bought a piece of Svenja's fan art with Hook and the Jolly Roger, and he signed that. He's like, I'm gonna sign it on the white part so that I don't ruin the art.
I brought a piece of Captain Swan fan art. It's the same one that I gave to Michelle for her birthday. It's fan art of the scene at the end of season 3 where they're sitting at the table. Mm-hmm. Their foreheads are like touching after they've kissed. I bought a picture of him in the dealer's room, a really good action pose. We had the hook and the sword. I hadn't signed that.
Yes, it was a picture that I'd never seen before.
One hand was holding the sword in back of him, and then he had the hook in front. And as soon as she and I saw that, we're like, oh, gotta get that picture. And then I had him sign my Hook statue. I think I was the only one there that actually brought a statue. Oh well. And then we went back up. We had a little free time to kind of sit around, so I went and ate lunch, and she went to go get her pictures done.
Yeah,
with Gil
I had to run to get my pictures with Gil and Karen. And in between that, I peeked into the Keegan and Karen panel. They had a panel together, and what I saw of it was pretty hilarious. There's this one girl who literally asked Keegan about Shady Blue. So she knows Shady Blue is a thing. She wants to get shirts made because she's making a lot of money for some charity with these Shady Blue shirts, because everybody clapped when we were talking about Shady Blue. Karen is very funny.
And Karen, apparently, according to someone who sat in on her panel that was also at Colin's solo, said something about that Karen called Colin Mr. Fancy Pants.
Yeah, I missed this part.
Because she came up there and she said something. She said, "Oh, I just wanted to let you know that Karen calls you Mr. Fancy Pants." And the blush on his face, like, oh my God. He just is like, really? And she asked him, is there any nicknames that you said? And he's just like, I don't think I want to die right now. he was trying to think of something to say, and he's just like, next. It was funny. He gets like really embarrassed when you ask him about things that happen on set. He blushes really quick.
But so I got my picture with Karen. She's the sweetest. I was like, oh my God, I'm meeting Princess Jasmine. She's like, oh, you are so sweet. And so I like the way that picture turned out. She's shorter than me, even in heels, which kind of surprised me.
She seems really short.
She's lovely. She always replies to my tweets.
Yeah, she's amazing.
So once all that was done and we killed that time at 3:30. Well,
I was at Emily's
sat in
panel.
for some of Emily's panel, and then the first part of the auction that they were doing, and they were pretty much just selling stuff from the dealer's room, like T-shirts and pictures and things like that.
The big banners.
and they finished at about 3:45, and it was a little late because Colin, I think, was still.
Well,
must have
Colin
been doing-
Colin and Lana had their photo op during Emily's panel.
So they were
I know
trying
there were
to
a lot
finish
of
that.
people. Well, but there were a lot of people who couldn't get a Colin solo picture because it was already sold out. So when they traded in their voucher for Colin and Jen, they just got Colin and Lana so they could at least get the picture with Colin. So go, you people.
Yeah. And so his started about 3:45, but we started lining up at like 3 o'clock because we could
No,
all
it wasn't
already
3
tell that
o'clock.
there were people starting to line up.
It was like 20 after 3.
But we could already tell that people were starting to line up. We didn't want to get stuck all the way in the back. But his panel started about 3:45, 3:40ish.
Yeah, it was closer to 3:45. It went on until 4:30.
I asked about his rings because I was curious if it's like if him changing out all his rings was not just a costume choice, but also to represent Hook moving on from his past. And he kind of made it into more of a joke, like, well, it was kind of an aesthetic costume choice, but you are right, his costume choices are subtle. I was really surprised that a lot of the questions were not flighty stupid shit. They were actually like really deep, how Colin, really, really good stuff, like not just flighty fangirl shit. I mean, yeah, there was some to make people laugh, but quite a few of them were actually really deep things that really had to make him think.
Oh, this was the one where I asked if, given Rumple's tendency to fall off the wagon on the whole being good thing, if Killian would make it a point to watch out for Belle and Gideon, now that, Gideon's an infant. And he was like, and he talked about, friendship with Belle and everything. And he's like, well, Gideon, this is where the Gideon tried to kill my wife thing came up. For those of you who were wondering, that was me.
That was when he's like,
Gideon. I was like, wait a second. Gideon's a baby now, so he doesn't remember that. He's like, oh, yeah.
It was so funny. He's like, Gideon tried to kill my wife. I'm like, what? He's a baby. He doesn't remember. Like,
yeah, so I got a little bit of a back and forth going with him there for a second. And he finally said, yeah, he'd probably do that. I was like, yay.
And then when you asked him about that final scene where where Rumple and Belle come in, and he's smiling that she's there, but as soon as he sees Gold, his face just falls. He's like,
the baby and
he's like, did you do that on purpose? He's like, did you do that on purpose because you knew that Hook wouldn't want Gold there? And he just goes, yes. It's complicated.
Yeah, it's complicated. So that was me. If you watch the panel video, that was me.
Michelle.
And your voice didn't sound bad.
Yes, bro.
You got Colin to call Emma his wife. You're awesome.
Yes,
absolutely, girlfriend. Absolutely. He was really funny. Like he told some stories about some practical jokes on set, and
Josh, big offender.
He talked about his kids, and because some people asked him like, what advice would you give to people trying to get to break out into the business? I asked him like, what advice would you give your kids when they get older and stuff like that. He's he didn't. I know he's not really comfortable talking about his family, but he was trying to be as open as possible.
Yeah. Also, well, it started with the very first girl. She got up to the microphone and literally had a breakdown. She was crying and freaking out. So he went and he hugged her. And this happened like 3 or 4,
five
maybe
times.
As many as 5 times. He literally climbed down off the stage and had to hug people because they were freaking out. And I mean, they weren't asking for hugs. He was just doing it because he felt bad for them. And eventually it got to the point where either his handler or the creation people or in general were like, do not ask for hugs. I mean, by the time they got back in the line, they were like, don't ask for a hug, don't do this, don't do that, because he was climbing down so often. And I gather he's not supposed to. So,
well, one because
try
it
not
takes
to
up
freak
it takes
out.
one because it takes away too much time from the panel itself. Two, because his foot's probably still stuck. So he's probably out to walk on it. But yeah, there was at least 5 people to the point where he was like, "I'm giving you all a hug in my mind."
Yeah, that was great. But yeah, Colin's panel was the best.
He's just really sweet.
Well, yeah, and this happened at least twice. Like when he literally walked out at the very beginning, somebody in the audience yelled, "Hello, gorgeous," and he's like looking around like, "Who are you talking about?" And we're all like, "We're talking about you." He's like, "Oh."
And one of the girls, when she came up to ask a question, she said, "Hello, handsome," and he's like, "Who, me?" He's embarrassed. Like he genuinely, I'm like, have you looked in the mirror? Like he doesn't believe his own face. And when we were trying to tell him that we really did love his voice and you know how he sings, the look on his face, he's like, my voice. Like every time someone tries to ask him to sing, whether it's Revenge or what he had with Jen at the wedding or Dust Storm, whatever, like.
Yeah, he basically, you know, if you're gonna encourage him to sing, do it respectfully. But you know, hey, I know from not experience because I haven't actually been to a supernatural convention, but I've heard enough about them that I know in the beginning, Jensen Ackles hated singing. Like it was like we all knew he could, and we knew he played the guitar, but he hated doing it at cons. Now, like, you know, 6, 7, 8 years down the road, he's like playing his guitar at like every convention, people. So if we can get Jensen Ackles out of his shell, Colin does enough of these, it might happen.
Definitely sang more in this one.
Sing with the guitar at what was it, Paris? Like before season 5, I think.
Someone actually asked him, I think at the gold panel. She said she had seen him peeking out of the bathroom. Like she hadn't followed him. She saw him coming out of the bathroom. His ukulele, because usually when he's out and about, he usually brings at least one of them with him. And plays his ukulele. And she asked him if he would play it, but he said, I would, but I don't have it on me right now. It seems it was probably in his hotel room or something. One had brought a guitar or something, and then he probably would have played.
So he plays the ukulele, the mandolin, and the guitar. Those we were curious.
Basically anything that has strings.
He can handle. At least get it to make a sound.
So he's a triple threat.
Pretty much, yeah.
He sang at least 4 times. He sang Revenge. He sang one of the lines from the duet with Jen. And someone asked him and Lana to sing a line from their favorite songs, and they kind of, well, it was more of a joke, really, but.
I forgot about that. He sang Welcome to the Jungle. She sang Born to be Wild. I do remember that.
It was, it was really funny when one of the girls at his solo panel asked him, like, when he had to do the sword fights, did he train to do it, or was he just naturally deaf? He's like, no, I'm just naturally deaf. I have a gift.
I mean, he is, but he did also go to school for it.
Yeah, he went to.
I don't know who this person was, but a couple years ago, somebody found his page at the drama school he went to, and there was stage fighting was on there, horseback riding was on there. There were a bunch of other things on there. Doing an American accent was on there. So there's a whole bunch of things that this guy went to drama school that he can do. So
to the Gaiety Film School in Dublin, and I remember someone years ago, but someone managed to find the website for his agency. Talent agency was in Europe. TV page, like that's on the website, and it was showing everything that he could do, like horseback riding, accents, stage sword fighting, all this stuff. And I'm like, that's really intrusive, dude. Like, you're going on to his. How did you crack that shit? I had the really old picture of him from when he was still in college.
Yes, baby Colin.
Baby Colin.
Baby Colin.
So
He was actually only lightly scruffed. I was expecting him to be more heavily scruffed, but he was only lightly scruffed.
Oh, and we have to talk about, when he's in, like, he's literally staring right at you.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's eye contact, people. He's staring at you with those blue eyes, and it's deadly. Like the picture, I had no butterflies. Even during the autograph, when I actually spoke to him, when we were literally like inches apart, I was okay. But staring at him across that space while I'm asking questions at a microphone, cue me being dead.
Like, those girls were not lying when they said that when he talked to you, innate ability, like you are the only person in the room. Like, it's just you and him, and there's nobody else there. Because when he starts talking to you, it's like the entire world just goes away, and there's nobody else there. It's just you and him.
Mm-hmm.
I was trying not to like fall to my knees when he was talking to me. I was strong though. Strong.
Well, this explains why all the ladies love working with him.
Well, they always talk about him being handsome and stuff, but also talk about the fact that he's so funny. I mean, I wasn't there for the third day, but the only thing that I reblogged from that third day was what someone had asked Bex about the funniest thing that happened on set, and she had said that when last episode, when Denise and Colin were both there, Colin was in the boot, got into a motorcycle accident and almost died. So he was walking on crutches because he broke his leg. And she was making fun of them for howling around and being gimps. How did you get that broken leg? You fell while dancing on a chair? Died in a motorcycle accident. Really, Colin? Really? He's like, you made your point. Chill out. You wouldn't think that he was that funny because you wouldn't think he has that sense of humor because he's so quiet, but he does. It's just, I think it comes out more around people that he knows.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But the funny thing is that he gets so like unnerved around the fact that when he walked out on stage and just his solo panel, he saw the massive amount of people that were there. He's still, even after doing this for 5 years, he's still overwhelmed by the fact that there are so many people, fans, most of the time. I mean, like, so many people that just adore him, and he like can't grasp why he's so popular. But have you looked in a mirror lately? Oh.
Okay, so do you guys have questions for us?
I guess, what was your favorite thing about the weekend? The convention weekend.
Just being able to meet Colin.
Yeah, pretty much every interaction I have with Colin.
Yes, every single one. I've been waiting 5 years for this, so it was a big deal for me.
I mean, literally the only one we didn't do was, well, okay, there were two things we didn't do. We didn't do the Colin and Lana photo, and we didn't do the meet and greet because that was out of our price range. But we did everything else that Colin was a part of.
Mm-hmm.
The only reason I didn't do the Colin and Lana duo is because I didn't want a picture with Lana.
Yeah, pretty much.
I don't want to deal with Lana. Not that she's a bad person. It's just that I'm not a fan of her.
She was perfectly fine during the gold panel. You know, I mean, I don't hate her personally.
It seems like as of late, or over the last couple months or so that she's been doing cons, she's sort of toned down.
Yeah, I don't know how her solo panel was because we didn't go to that. I couldn't stomach her that long.
Yeah, we left right after Colin's solo was done. We went back to the hotel for a bit.
So is this an experience you would want to do again?
Absolutely.
Sure. As a matter of fact, they just announced on the Creation website that they're having a Once Upon a Time convention next year in Orlando, which is closer to me.
So Chicago and Orlando are definitely confirmed for next year, and Colin is confirmed for both.
Yes. Colin is the only name for the Orlando one so far. It's June 1st through 3rd, 2018. Apparently, Colin's just doing everything.
Well, I mean, realistically, not to get into show spec, but the show might be over next year.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
gotta have something.
I think he's gonna do as many. I think he's gonna try to do as many of them as he can. See, for as much of the fans as he can until the show goes. You could definitely tell that these cons are not like his comfort zone, but he's slowly but surely coming out of his shell. Like each one that he goes to, he comes out a little bit more. Just a little more to get him fully out there. I mean, he's never going to be that extrovert like Lana is,
Gail.
But I think we'll get him up to Jensen Ackles soon enough.
Oh my God.
Work in progress, but he's fun the way he is.
Yes, he's very much fun the way he is. Just be nice when you meet him. Don't have unreasonable expectations.
Don't think that he's going to have enough time to hold an entire conversation, because it is true what other people have said. These highly structured. Each event is very quick. It has to be done within a certain time. So when you go down there to do the photo op, it is like split second. Walk in there, step forward, click, done. Like there's no time to really talk.
Yeah, especially for the more popular actors like a Colin or a Lana or an Emily. Like you either need to accept that your picture is just going to be the regular you're standing next to him picture, or you better have something planned out in your head that you can say really quick, because you got to be in and out because there's a lot of people behind you in the line.
Yeah, but Michelle, there wasn't a line for you when you met him in Nashville.
No. Bro, I could barely stand up when I met him in Nashville.
Literally, the wall was the only thing that kept her off her ass.
He walks out of the bar, and my knees immediately start to give out from under me. I had to lean against the stone wall of the bar in order not to collapse. And then when I talked to him, I just babbled. At least this time I had sentences. Progress.
So you built yourself up endurance.
She is not kidding, because I mean, you have a little bit more time to talk to them in the autograph line. I had him signed, so I had about a minute to where I could talk to him. And I'm telling you, I was trying so hard when I was holding that picture up. I was trying so hard to make sure that picture didn't shake, because I didn't want him to see me shaking. And I was just trying to say what I needed to say without sounding like a complete spaz. But it's not just because of his talent or because of how good looking that he is, although that is a plus. It's the fact that this guy is the total package. Like guy that most women only dream of. Seriously. And to see that up front to you, that's that's massive.
Now because there's one thing I wanted to say to him that I completely forgot to say. Oh well, it's okay.
What?
Next time.
I was I was gonna tell him that Killian Jones is my favorite fictional character of all time, and that's a big deal. And I completely flew out of my brain.
He's definitely my favorite, and he will always be my favorite actor, always.
Well, maybe you'll get a chance to tell him next time, maybe next year.
Yes, that would be
Hopefully.
awesome.
Okay, so is there anything else you want to say about the convention that you maybe forgot to say? Anything else?
Be early. Even though we got up at, it was early enough to get those tickets, we had no idea that the lines were going to be that long, that quick. Be extremely early. Period. We left our hotel at what? 8 o'clock?
It was 8:30.
Yeah, and we thought this will be fine. We get in there and it's freaking all the way. Yeah, so we should have left it. We should have left out at like 7 o'clock or some shit. Because some people are really early. It's important to be there early. It's important to have water. It will be very warm in except for the panels are. Once you're outside of that, it's warm because there's such a crush of bodies. Have water or something to hydrate you somehow, and plan ahead on the food because the hotel food is too expensive. So you're gonna have to walk out and get some food,
Okay, anything else? Maybe you said it all.
Did you meet anybody else? Like, no, not. I don't mean the actors. I mean like any fans.
Oh, that's right. We went to the CS meetup Friday night. We all met
Friday night
in the lobby.
There was Whimsically Enchanted Rose, Honey Badger Hook, Demisexual,
Emma Swan.
There was a whole bunch of us. There's like at least 10 of us there. Captain Swan Source.
Yes, Captain Swan Source was there.
We all went to Gardetto's. I could not eat that deep dish pizza. There was too much cheese.
Yeah, I had chicken tenders because I wasn't eating that.
We all just kind of sat around and gushed about Colin and Captain Swan, and we don't often get that chance to be face to face with.
Yeah, that was
fellow
some
fans.
Of the best fun I had all weekend. So if you're going, try to find other, CSers, people who share your interests and hang out. But yeah, it was really funny. We said that we needed name tags that said "Hello, my name is," and instead of your name, it had your Tumblr URL to figure out who people were. And we needed a sign that said "Captain Swan Meetup here."
Because we didn't know anybody's real names. We were all trying to figure out who each other was by Tumblr URL and by pictures, because we don't have any actual names.
Amanda from Texas found me. URL, she just changed it again. People need to stop doing that. But yeah, she found me while I was waiting for, I think it was Emily's panel to start. And so, yeah, having people fangirl over me was a surreal sensation. So I sort of know how Colin feels now. But thank you to every single person who came up to me and said that they have read my work and enjoyed it and all that stuff. That was immensely flattering, so thank you.
So none of you guys got recognized because you're on one of the best podcasts on Tumblr?
No.
Okay.
Okay, so I think that's all. If you don't want to add anything else, the next podcast will be an retrospective, and we think it's gonna be the weekend before Comic Con, so the 15th of July, because we are very busy people, and that's the first weekend we are all free. And the next one will be the last Captain Swan podcast. And the following week, Lisa will start recording the Captain Hook podcast with all the news from Comic Con. Hopefully, good news.
Yeah,
Okay.
and just so you know, we're gonna leave the blog up and all the episodes up and everything. And if like the show ends and Jen comes back for the finale and whatever, and there's like a big CS stuff, that we'll absolutely come back and record something to wrap it all up if there's CS at the end.
Of course. So that's it for today's podcast. Thank you everyone for listening, and we will be back for the last time next month. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.